Yes.
Yes.
I think that I wrote this book, the word is frustration.
Okay.
And believe it or not, as patients, you may feel frustrated, but doctors get frustrated too. So in all honesty, I think ultimately I wrote this book out of frustration. Taking care of patients for many years. I'm in going into my 28th year of taking care of patients as an internal medicine primary care doctor. And I found that many patients come to the doctor and are really unaware of the things that they need to know to take care of themselves. They come to the doctor without the tools that they need to help their doctor take better care of themselves. And that frustration, it helps me not be the best doctor that I can be for my patients. And so that's one reason why I started writing this book. But I will say, and I put this in the introduction, the title of this book was not the original title.
What was the original
title? The original title was Pearls from My Patients, because a lot of times my patients would tell me things and I would say, that's a novel way to look at something. And so I would write it down and I would say, can I write this down? And so ultimately I would have all these sticky papers in my white coat. And then I wanted to write these things down so I could pass it on to someone else.
So can you give me an example of a pearl gem that the patient gave you?
So it's things that people came up with at home about healthy ways to eat, ways that people have found to incorporate healthy eating and exercise into their life. And so quips and quotes, and I put these in the book, so you gotta read the book to really get all this. Quips and quotes that I put into the book that my patients would tell me, and so I had this mass of sticky papers in my book, in my white coat, and then I put them into a document, and then it started. I said, what am I going to do with this information? And then, it started, the frustration came in as far as, me telling people how they should come to the doctor, what they should come to the doctor with. And so that's when I changed it to how to help your doctor help you. And so I would be telling people, when you come to the doctor, know your medications. These seem like obvious things. Know your family history. And I would tell my patients this, and they would say, why has no one ever told me this? Why don't I know this? And these are not obvious things for people. And I realized these are not obvious things that people know, because people don't know this, so it must not be obvious. And then I said, I need to start writing this down. And that's when I decided I was going to put this into a book.
So let me ask this, how long did the frustration build up until you decided to put pen to paper?
Honestly, I started with these sticky notes about 15 years before this book got published. And it really started to steamroll when that pesky little virus in 2020 hit us all.
Oh, okay.
But then, by then, a lot of what I wanted to say was in a document, and I got a writing coach, and I really put my head down, and I said, I have to really make this happen and turn this into a book.
Okay. Thank you for that. It's clear this book's come from personal experience and frustration. So this leads me to this second question. We know that a lot of folks in our community have history where perhaps they're not really anxious about going to the doctor. And you know from the Tuskegee experiment and what have you. So can you speak to that fear and mistrust of the medical system and what you can advise a community, particularly like high poverty, low income, how to navigate or how to eradicate those fears? Because they still have to now have some personal family members who swear against the COVID vaccine and others, and putting things in your system, microchips, so this history carries on currently today. Can you speak to that?
So I would say, first of all, that is another purpose of why I wrote this book, to try to give people information to them, to empower them to be their own advocates for their health, to give people information so they're not so fearful about their health, not so fearful about going to the doctor, giving people information about what's happening behind the scenes when they go to see the doctor. By no means does this book replace going to see the doctor. But for people who are fearful going to the doctor, there is a chapter in this book that addresses that. It goes a little something like this, and you may have heard it. It's something like, it's basically, if you ignore a health problem, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. The title of the chapter is, I'm Not Gonna Claim It.
I read that chapter.
We've all heard, I'm not gonna claim it. If I had $1 for every time I've had a patient tell me, I'm not gonna claim it. Well, if you don't claim it, the full name of the chapter, if you don't claim it, it's gonna claim you. So, not claiming it and ignoring something and being fearful of it does not mean that the medical condition does not exist. And so, this book is about being proactive about health, so you can try to prevent things, and for things that you cannot prevent, being ahead of it, so you can do the best you can to prevent complications. Lots of medical conditions that we have, and I focus on the big three in this book. High blood pressure.
Why you look over here?
I'm looking at our high blood pressure expert in the room right here.
Oh.
Diabetes and high cholesterol, that big three. We can do a lot to control those and prevent those. You can't do anything about your genetics and your family history. But the key is you have to know your family history. You got to talk to your family members if they will tell you. Sometimes people want to take it to their grave, and it's so important to get your family members to tell you what conditions they have. And I do give people talking points about how to do that.
Such as,
if you're not going to do it for me, what about my kids or your nieces, your nephews? A lot of times that gets people if you say, can you do it for the children in the family? So they can know, especially now because there's lots of genetic testing that matters and that that goes a long way to help people prevent or find illnesses that you can screen for and do something about early.
okay. I'm gonna come back to this question, but since you touched on that, speak about beyond the exam room. Like, beyond the exam room, how the environment plays a part in a person's life. I was blessed to manage a health initiative that looked at the social determinants of health, and I learned a lot. That was some years ago. How your environment plays an impact. As an example, one's journey to school in suburbs such as Shaker Heights, Ohio. Their travel to school, you see what tree-lined streets and nice homes and nice cars and what have you. But one's journey to school, say in the central neighborhood, kids, before they even get to school, they have to process a lot. You know, broken glass, dead carcasses, stripped out cars. How does that play a part in oneself beyond the exam room, the environment that they reside in?
That plays a big part in one's health. I am born and raised in Cleveland, so I'm very familiar with what you're talking about. For a lot of people, we now know there's been a lot of studies that now know your zip code. There's been a lot of studies that now show that your zip code is a big determinant in what your health will be. What I'm talking about is using information to overcome that. And I try to help people do that. And that means using information to help people overcome those social determinants of health that have negative implications on one's health. But I didn't get into politics and social things in this book. I put a little bit in the epilogue, but this book is over 200 pages and I had to stop somewhere.
238 to be exact. Okay.
Maybe in another book, but I had to stop. I didn't want to overwhelm my readers, so I did stop there. But maybe in another book, I will tackle that. And there are a lot of writers who are writing very deeply about that topic.
Okay, so let's go back to the exam room. How can patients?
But hold on.
I'm sorry.
Hold on.
There's more.
I would like to add that a lot of what happens in people's lives bleeds into the exam room.
Okay.
So life choices bleeds into the exam room. And I write a lot in this book about making life choices and how life choices, things that you do outside of the exam room, impacts your health. And I have to talk to patients about it. Things like what job you choose, what friends you choose, who you choose to marry, who you don't choose to marry, what occupation you choose, obviously impacts your health. All kind of choices, how you treat people, that's a big one.
So how do your patients respond to that type of conversation, advice, not just the medical advice, but when you say what you just said, how does your patients respond to you saying to them what you just said to us?
Their eyes get big, their mouth drops open. But I also go as far to tell people the things in your life that are impacting your health, you gotta get rid of it. That are negatively impacting your health, including people.
Yeah.
And so people respond positively because ultimately I'm giving them permission to do that because they don't feel empowered to do that. But I have people come back who quit a job or change supervisors or cut off a certain group of friends or
That's what I did.
I've had to get divorced or marry somebody opposed to another person. People, a lot of times discussions in the doctor's office, stay off social media. That's a big one that bleeds into the doctor's office now. Social media.
I'm certain. I'm going to ask for an example. Give us an example of social media.
I gotta try to think of an example that doesn't give too much information that a patient can identify. So let me think.
You can marinate on it. We'll go to the next one.
finding out you have brothers and sisters you didn't know about. That's what I've had that multiple times. That's one that jumps out in my mind. That was, and this particular patient that I'm thinking about came into the office with physical symptoms. But I've had that happen more than once. But ultimately, her physical symptoms were because of what was going on with her psychologically from something that was happening on social media.
Okay, without giving out too much information, whoever the patient is. So if someone was going to the doctor tomorrow, if they were going to the doctor tomorrow, what are a few simple things that you or they can do to make their visit more effective? Because I do know our own family that as an example, my brother, he can't pronounce his high blood pressure. He'll say, I said, Chris, what are you taking? Oh, that high blood pressure jump. So what are 3 simple things that one can do to make their visit more effective when they come to visit their physician? And that leaves them feeling heard and respected, because I do know that some people feel they take the doctor's advice solely, It's like they go to the doctor, and whatever the doctor say, they take that advice.
So bring your medication bottles with you. Why I gotta bring my medication bottle with me? Ain't it in the computer? Bring your medicine bottles with you. I want to see your medicines. Sometimes I do pill counts to make sure you're taking them. Sometimes I go through each medicine, make sure that you know what each medicine is for. Bring your medicine bottle with you every visit. If you're meeting a new doctor, bring your medical records. Don't assume that a doctor has access to your previous medical records just because there's a computer sitting in front of them. Don't assume that your doctor is going to be savvy enough to go into the computer and know how to integrate your previous medical records. Don't assume that your doctor feels like doing it that day. Bring your medical records with you. At least bring your labs. Know what you've been diagnosed with. Know your medical history. Bring it with you. Know what surgeries you've had. Know what was removed. Left side, right side. This may seem obvious, but a lot of times people don't know. Family history. Write it down. Ask your family members what medical issues they have, what they've been diagnosed with. Try and make them tell you. Write it down. Share it with your family members so everyone knows. It really matters, especially nowadays with genetic testing.
Okay.
Bring someone with you. I don't mind if somebody wants to record their doctor's visit. Why not? Bring a piece of paper, write things down during your doctor's visit. Why not? Be an engaged patient when you come to the doctor. You will get better care when you are an active participant in your care.
Yeah, I just experienced that with, as you know, I have older brothers, 71, 73, 76, and my oldest brother, he had a low cancer screening, and so he had to go back and, he is your typical blue collar. You won't find anyone like her. He's a dinosaur. You won't find black men like that. But he was scared, and so I went with him, and I think that's great advice, because no matter how tough someone is or how tough you think they are, stepping into that space is fearful. So that is great advice. I should ask you this question at the top, it just popped in my head, but I must ask, what inspired you to become a medical professional? A girl from Cleveland.
A girl from Cleveland. Well, initially, I kind of jumped through a couple things. First, it was law, and I thought that was boring. And then I thought I would, when I went to Hathaway Brown, I went to Grace Mount. Let me start there.
Wow.
I went to Grace Mount Elementary
Way back.
for elementary school.
Oh, yeah.
And then I went to Hathaway Brown for high school, and then I went to Stanford University for college. And at first it was law, that was boring. Then it was engineering, that was too difficult.
No acting? It's a joke.
No acting. I think acting for me that's not serious enough.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Tell it like it
In the
is.
medical field.
So I think I like working with people, but I always like biology and how the human body works. And so, and it wasn't as difficult as engineering. I think that's how I landed at becoming a doctor.
Okay. So let's go back into the exam room. What should be, or why is, I should say, the doctor-patient relationship so important, and how can it be improved from the doctor's perspective, from the patient's perspective?
Well, like I was trying to touch on before, when you come to the doctor, it's not that you just come to the doctor and you just sit and say, I'm here. To get the best care, you have to be an active participant in your care. That helps the doctor take better care of you. The way I approach it in my book is that you as a patient are a partner with your doctor in your care. You guys should be working as partners. You're working together. It's not just that the doctor is just saying, I'm the doctor, this is what you should do. You should come with questions. If your doctor is not answering the questions to your satisfaction, it's okay to find another doctor. And I do say that in the book, it's okay. I do give people also permission to find another doctor who is answering questions to your satisfaction. And it's not so much that you have to know what the doctor knows or know more than the doctor, but your doctor should be able to, you should be able to understand what your doctor is saying to you and how they are explaining it to you. It's not a personal thing, but you do have to be able to find a doctor who is understanding, and like you said, feel heard. And I will be the first to tell you, I am not the doctor for everyone.
Okay, I know you mentioned, this is something that's popped in my head. I think we were talking a while back, and you were saying something about most of your patients are with you like a marriage until they decide to go their own way. So when you're saying that you're not the doctor for everyone, is there a story you can share or an example of you and the patient divorcing, or going your separate ways?
It doesn't happen too often, but it has happened often enough over the course of my career where I feel that the patient is not getting the benefit of our relationship. And it's not always something that's wrong with the patient or something that's wrong with me. Sometimes it's just not a good fit. Sometimes it's coming from me, sometimes it's coming from the patient, so sometimes I'm not the best doctor for that patient, or sometimes the patient is not the best patient to be with me. Sometimes this happens. it's okay. But if you are in that situation, it's okay to find another doctor who you feel is a better fit for you. You don't have to suffer with a doctor who you feel is not a good fit for you. And a lot of times people do that.
So for those of us who are just joining us, I'm speaking with Dr. Benita Cole as we discuss her book, How to Help Your Doctor Help You. So now, what are some practical ways, steps patients can take to build trust with the doctor, especially if you're walking in the door and already feeling guarded or fearful?
So have an open mind. Give the doctor a chance. Not years and years and years, of course, but give the doctor a chance. As I mentioned before, come with questions. Come to your appointments. Follow up with what the doctor has asked you to do. If you need to get blood work, get your labs done. Follow up with your appointments. Get feedback from the doctor at your follow-up appointment so you can see how that doctor practices. And that way you can build trust with your doctor because you're getting followed. If you go see your doctor once a year, it's hard to build trust because you're not getting feedback.
So share a success story, if you will, this great piece of work of a patient who followed your advice based on, because you give so much advice in this book. Can you share a success story?
So I think I'll give you a conglomerate of success stories.
That'll be fine.
And I think in general, success stories for me is, I think my best success stories are when people change their eating habits and do well. And that's a big part of internal medicine. That's a big part of what we try and do is help people change their eating habits to prevent diseases, but also manage diseases like high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, heart disease. But the biggest success I have had with patients and people who actually change their eating habits, looking at food as nutrition, change their relationship with food, make that paradigm shift with food. So you're using food as nutrition, not using food to fill the need for boredom, fill an emotional void. People use food for a lot of different things, but when I can get people to change how they eat, you can move the needle with blood pressure, losing weight, heart disease, cholesterol, mental health. I have had a lot of success stories when people actually change how they eat. I can get people to change how they shop, get to reading food labels, and I go into great details about everything that I'm saying in this book.
That's in chapter 23. Speaking of, you said something to me last week. I'm busy, right? And you said something to me. You said you have to plan to eat. Because that's something I struggle with. I don't eat by 9 o'clock. It's one meal a day. And then sometimes the morning's busy, so 9 o'clock come and go, and I'm not hungry. So talk about that, planning to eat.
So, food should be a regular part of your day, just like everything else you plan in your day. There's nothing wrong with putting food on your schedule. We all got these phones. We all have Google Calendar. We all have things on our calendar. You can put your meat, it helps to put when you're going to eat and what you're going to eat as a part of your everyday life. You have to, when you wake up every morning, you should know what you're going to eat and when, and stick to that. And you should also eat for nutrition's sake and not wait for overwhelming hunger when you eat, because that's when you're going to overeat, and that's when you're going to be in the drive-through, and then you didn't plan to. And so what I was telling Neil last week was, when he was telling me what he was doing that morning, that's when I said, you're not planning to eat. That's obvious.
It's true.
You have to put that into your day. And so when you do that, you're going to eat healthier, but then you got to have money. Most of the time, you got to get to the store. You got to put all that into your everyday life. You have to prepare your food. You have to have your little take out your, I don't want to use any particular brand, but your little plastic containers. You got to take it with you. Even on the weekends when you're running your errands, you got to take it with you. Have your little cooler. And these words I'm saying, I say this to patients verbatim. Like, so I'm saying, I use the words.
Did
I?
You did.
You know, if it's summertime, put your little ice things, your cold things in your little, we all got these little cooler things. You get them as gifts. You all got them in the pantry. Pull them out. Take your food with you. So when it's time to eat, go as far as set a timer. You got the phones with you. Set a timer. Remind yourself when to eat and eat your healthy things. Then you won't be eating junk. Then you won't be hungry. And you're going to eat healthier. And you can have better control of if any chronic conditions that you have. And that's how you lose weight. That's how you can keep your weight where you want it. And that's how you can lose weight, by planning to eat. And that doesn't mean you can't eat the unhealthy foods, but you can plan that too. You can put that into your schedule. You plan everything else in your day, in your life. You do.
That is true.
You plan everything else in your life, but you got to put food in there as well.
You know, when you said that to me last week, or maybe the week before, I thought about it. I was like, man, when I go to Wait Over Wednesday, which is a summer weekly event, free music by the Art Museum, I plan for that day. I plan to have that beer, that wine, the cheese, the vodka, whatever is in there. It's planned, the chairs, and I thought about it. Because, you know, I'm up early and have my little practice that I do, you know, my daily prayer practice, what have you. But I didn't really think about it until you said it. And so now you'll be proud to know, you know, I do not talk on the phone from 6 to 8 a.m. And at least the past 6 days, I have my smoothie, fresh fruit, you know, and I have my breakfast, and it does make a difference. And so I'm just, you know, it was, you said it, chapter 23. Let me ask you this. You know, like anything else out there, sometimes it can be information overload for a patient or for anyone, you know. How can you cut to the chase sometimes on health information? Or how can the patient address health information overload?
So I don't recommend just Googling symptoms, WebMD and all that. What I tell people, one, ask your doctor. Ask your doctor what websites they recommend. But what I recommend is go to health system websites. So I'm in Cleveland. I trained at the Cleveland Clinic, so I'm going to say, and I will say Cleveland Clinic, they have an excellent website that I often refer people to, and I often look at as far as looking up medical conditions, giving good explanations about medical conditions. But other health systems in other parts of the country have the same thing. And a lot of big health systems often have comparable things on their YouTube channels as well. One website that I have used in multiple positions I have been at is called healthline.com.
I'm writing it down.
HEALTHLINE.com. And I don't have stock in it or anything. The reason why I like Healthline, it is peer reviewed. And peer reviewed is important because somebody is writing an article, another expert or a set of experts is reading the article and confirming that the information in this article is accurate. The date that it is written is also there, and I don't recommend reading anything that's more than 2 years old. Healthline.com is very good source to read information about different medical conditions. And just so you know, on my website, besthealthforyourlife.com, the number 4, I have been writing a monthly health newsletter since October 2023, and a lot of my health articles use links from healthline.com, and you can go down the rabbit hole in Healthline, and I have used that one a lot. So that's what I recommend. Big health systems, they have very good and reputable and accurate information about health conditions, healthline.com.
Let's circle back and talk about mental health, and that plays a part in physical health. I had a sister who was schizophrenic. She took my parents' murders very hard, and she was in the life for 33 years. Blessedly, she lived her last 17 years of her life soberly. She passed 5 years ago. But I learned, that, mental health, it doesn't just affect the person who's afflicted with it. It affects the people who love them. So can you speak on how that plays a part? I know you touched on it earlier, I think, about mental health and how it plays a part with your physical health.
So I am an internal medicine doctor, but mental health does bleed into your primary care visits as well. And so in internal medicine and primary care, we do have to deal with a lot of mental